Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is one of the sequels of all time. Similarly, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2 is also said to be a sequel. While I've fortunately played The Force Unleashed 1, 2, and KOTOR for hundreds of hours each, I've actually never played KOTOR 2 before. About a half a year ago, I had the idea to combine these two Star Wars games that were probably some of my favorite games as a kid by beating KOTOR 1 as Starkiller, the main character from The Force Unleashed. Recently I ran a poll to see if you guys wanted the sequel run, KOTOR 2 as Starkiller, or if you guys wanted me to play as someone different, but you guys overwhelmingly chose the Starkiller run, so in this video, I'll be attempting to beat KOTOR 2 as Starkiller. Here are the rules for this run. First, I have to build my character to become Darth Vader's secret apprentice, Galen Merrick. Specifically, I have to build my character to mechanically reflect his powers and abilities, but I also have to roleplay as him as well. Since I did KOTOR 1 primarily as the original Starkiller, and then progressed into Starkiller as of The Force Unleashed 2, in this run, all of my roleplay decisions will be based on Starkiller's clone in The Force Unleashed 2, so starting neutral and working up to mostly light side. As for mechanics, as viewer Official Raven Blitz pointed out in my last video, there's actually an official D&D style Force Unleashed campaign with a stat block for Starkiller, so I'll be basing my build on that. In addition to the Starkiller angle, since Galen is basically the Kratos of Star Wars, to make this challenge more difficult, I'm not allowed to use companions. The game forces you to take allies along sometimes, but barring that, I'm not allowed to bring anyone into my party. Lastly, to increase the challenge of the run even more, the entire run will be done on the highest difficulty, Difficult. With the rules set, let's begin the run. First off, we've got to create Starkiller. We get to start off as a Jedi this time, and like last time, I think Jedi Guardian fits Starkiller best since it's the most combat-oriented class. Darth Thirst, the portrait we used last time, didn't quite fit this time around since his hair got lighter, so I decided to go with this guy since he kinda looks like Sam Witwer with his hair grown out. Also, I stole that Darth Thirst joke. For stats, I just went as close to Starkiller's official guide stats as possible, and we'll just make up the difference as we go. For skills, moving forward, I'll be prioritizing Treat Injury to make med packs heal more, then Persuade to succeed on as many of those skill checks as possible for more XP and free or discounted stuff, and then Awareness to notice stuff in conversation, and Demolition solely because it's the only other skill I'm proficient in. For my feat, I took to weapon fighting immediately since I knew from the KOTOR run how debilitating the dual-wield penalties were and wanted to mitigate them as quickly as possible. In the KOTOR run, I named myself Starkiller since I thought that was what the Force Unleashed 1 Starkiller would want to go by for the majority of the game, but this time, I actually went with his real name, Galen Merrick, partly because he basically stops being Vader's apprentice immediately in The Force Unleashed 2, but it also happened to work out for a cool coincidence later on where another character in this game stops using a codename in lieu of their real name. Alright, let's find out if Starkiller is actually strong enough to defeat the Sith Triumvirate. The intro credits roll, and then we're immediately in the Ebon Hawk following some kind of fatal skirmish, and Starkiller is already in the ICU. This truly was a war in the stars. Since I've played KOTOR 1 extensively, I opted to skip the tutorial and figured out anything new as I went along. After docking my ship in a meteor, I wake up in a Kolto tank, start seizing, and then I can actually start playing the game. Upon getting to the morgue, an old lady that I thought was a corpse gets up and starts talking to me. This is Kreia, that lady who had an AI debate against Joshua Graham and got her ass kicked. She's gonna be our Master Coda for this run, except as you'll come to find out, she sucks at everything and has a habit of blaming everyone else for that. Her philosophy is that the Force sucks because it makes people do stuff that gets a bunch of people killed, completely ignoring personal agency, and the fact that, while the Force has a will and pushes people to seek balance, it's never mind-controlled or forced anyone to do anything literally ever. In reality, she sucked at being a Jedi and sucked at being a Sith, so it's probably a lot easier for her to avoid personal accountability by blaming the literal fabric of existence rather than just admitting that maybe she just sucks. In any event, I was a bit cranky to her initially since Starkiller did start The Force Unleashed 2 as Vader's Sith apprentice, specifically the best clone of the batch, and after that I nabbed a vibroblade in the next room and fought a bunch of droids throughout this facility. Starkiller's stat block claims that his primary attack options are Powerful Charge and Rapid Strike, so when I wasn't auto-battling, I mostly used Flurry and Power Attack to replicate them. After earning my first level up, I went ahead and took Melee Weapon Focus to add a +1 bonus to attempts to land a hit with melee weapons since I wasn't high enough level at this point to get improved to weapon fighting and still wanted to increase my chances of hitting with my attacks. The first Force power I took was Shock, since Force Lightning is probably one of Starkiller's strongest and most iconic Force abilities. Also, his Force Lightning is his strongest power in his stat block, and Shock is good against droids, who were the only enemy type for this first level. After clearing out the rest of the droids in this area, I freed Atton Rand, a companion with a good eye and a smart mouth. We go to the main terminal of the area and contact a familiar trash bin, T3M4. In this section I have to play as him. There are a couple of sections like this in the game where you have to play as a squad mate, but I just used the droid shock arm to blow my way through this particular part. It does great damage and has infinite uses, so why not? I find the Ebon Hawk, but I can't get to it yet because then the level would be over too quickly, and the dev team wanted to get good use out of this map, so I then fought to the fuel depot to open an emergency hatch, but T3 gets lasered by an unknown assailant. I got a weird glitch where the game loaded Starkiller into the place where T3 had been, and then when I tried to leave, it swapped me with an infinitely stunned T3M4. I thought that this was so cool. While I typically cycle through 5 different save files while playing games so that I have a lot of different save points to load from in case I get a glitch or mess something up, I only cycled through 4 this time because that save was enshrined from now to the end of the run. After loading back a prior save and playing through to that point again, I ran to the hatch that T3 opened and got a bunch of gear. Clearing my way through all the mining droids here was pretty easy on the whole. The combination of Starkiller's decently distributed stats and my shock power made short work of even groups of droids. Every now and then I'd get absolutely smoked by a stray flamethrower or a crit or something, but I would just use my Starkiller's super enhanced speed to run my ass back to the last room and either heal with medkits or just sit there and wait for my health to recover. To help with my low health squishy problem, I took the tough feat for more health on my next level up, and I also took the Force Wound power since Force Choke is another powerful and often used ability of Starkiller's, particularly Force Grip. After dropping the energy shields in this main area, I pretty easily took out the group of droids here with some grenades I had salvaged along the way and my shock power. Fighting my way out of the tunnels was admittedly much harder, but I narrowly escaped and then had to sit through an hour-long lecture from this knockoff HK-47. What a way to kill the pacing. After upgrading some of my stuff using the workbench, which has been greatly improved upon from KOTOR I, I died and got sent all the way back to the shield room, learned to save more often, and then after fighting back to where I was and getting revenge on the droids that killed me, I leveled up, added 1 point to my dexterity score to bump me up to 12, which in turn increased my dex modifier to +1, thereby boosting my AC and making me harder to hit. I took another of Starkiller's main force powers, Force Push, and then I fought these tougher droids that I just cooked instantly. I destroy the rest of the droids in my way, and then I get to do a spacewalk section, which is ridiculously faster than it used to be in KOTOR. In the meantime, a captured Republic ship docks on the station, and we see that the guy who soloed its entire crew and captured it is the man too angry to die himself, Darth Sion. I went back into the station and cut down some more mining droids, a couple of freezing turret thingies, and some more droids after that, and eventually I earned another level up. Feels like I'm getting a ton of these, even right out of the gate. I went ahead and took my 6th point of treat injury, took the regenerate vitality points feat for faster passive health regen while out of combat, and I took the effect mind power since it's one of the powers Starkiller uses in the Force Unleashed, and the only one left except for lightsaber throw, which we can't use until we get a lightsaber, and force repulse, which is basically just force wave, the max level version of force push. I looted all the dead miners, googled the code for this door, unfortunately met back up with Kreia, I missed Jolie Bindo, and got followed by some Shadow Trooper wannabes. We met back up with Discount Karth here and tried to get on the docked Republic ship to escape, but that HK from earlier tried to stop us. You have Atton and Kreia helping you here, so of course it was a pretty easy fight despite how powerful HK-50 was. To make things more difficult, I only ever auto-leveled my party members, but even with Atton and Kreia having trash builds, the only real damage the HK actually did was when he self-destructed. We boarded the Harbinger, and Atton and Kreia started bickering, so I responded how I thought an early The Force Unleashed 2 Starkiller would. Not outright evil or Sith or whatever, but definitely low tolerance and easily irritable. They did not like that. I had to fight through a ton of Sith assassins at this part, but they were genuinely so easy to kill, they were literally just free experience points pretty much. As a matter of fact, Set XP got me to level 6, where I got Dominate Mind, since I didn't really particularly want any of the other available force powers, and it was definitely something Starkiller has. After killing all the Sith assassins on board and getting as much XP as possible, level 6 Kreia tries to fight at least level 20 Sion, and not only gets smoked, but also gets her hand chopped off. Serves her right, she sucks. Well, it also sucks for me since we've developed a strong force bond so potent that I feel her pain, so I also get to experience that lovely sensation. I would tirelessly work to get this bond severed throughout the game because Kreia is awful. Atton and I found T3M4, and together we began taking out the last of the droids in the Peragus mining facility and made our way to the Ebonhawk. I got another level up, nearly level 10, and I'm not even done with the opening level yet. And I went ahead and took the Regenerate Force Points feat since I could tell that this was going to be a Force Powers heavy run, and I went ahead and bit the bullet and got through a lightsaber. For the last section of killing off droids, I actually started racking up enough damage to be concerned, but after just sitting and regenerating for a while, I was fine. Also at this point, I was now finally able to dual wield 2 vibroblades, so we're getting a little closer to Starkiller's authentic combat style. For some reason, a bunch of Sith troopers randomly appeared, even though they definitely weren't on the Harbinger and absolutely were not here before, and while you're supposed to kill them with the turret, I wanted to see what would happen if you didn't. As it turns out, they board the Ebonhawk and you have to fight them there. This was actually pretty tough since you have to fight about 24 of them and they're crowded up in groups of 5, so to avoid dying, I would fight a group, wait a bit and regenerate, and then fight the next group. T3 and Atton kinda carried, but we eventually kill them all off, and after Kreia somehow finds us, despite my sending her the wrong coordinates, we made out like bandits. The Harbinger tried to bring us down, but Atton, totally not at my command, fires on an asteroid and turns the whole area nova, blowing the Harbinger and the entire planet of Peragus out of the sky. Not quite a star, but Planet Killer doesn't really have the same ring to it. I talk to my companions to try to scum whatever XP I can, I begin repairing HK, and then we arrive on the planet of Telos, where we're all arrested because Atton blew up a planet. Also, some hot chick in all white is apparently stalking me. Oh no. Well, a bounty hunter disguises himself as one of the guards and tries to kill us while we're in lockup, but we just kinda turn him into yummy XP points. Due to the security breach, we're moved to living quarters that'll be specially guarded. I level up to 8 after all the excitement and get my wisdom to 14 to boost my modifier to +2 to help with force stuff. I got awareness to +4, and I grab force deflect to help deflect blaster bolts even without a lightsaber, and then after I get like 50 phone calls while I'm trying to sleep, we're allowed to free roam the station, but we're asked not to leave until the Republic can do an independent investigation on why Atton, and not me, blew up Peragus. Why did you do that, Atton? Also, I don't have to bring a squad mate, so we're flying solo again. Naturally, I started by looting and gathering as many quests as I could, including meeting with the leader of the Telos Restoration Project, who's offering to heal my force wound a bit if I help him win the main quest here against the Circa Corp in the exchange, which I thought was funny since the main cop guy here, Lieutenant Gren, has the same model and voice actor as Davik Kang, the leader of the exchange on Terrace. After grabbing Zason Shaw Initiate Armor from Samhan Dobo because it's good armor and it still allows me to use my force powers, I saved a nub-nub from some filthy racists by force choking them and shanking them, since Starkiller at this point probably wouldn't vibe with bullies trying to strong-arm the weak and defenseless and also trying to threaten him as well. I went to the cantina and got Doton to agree to give up Hara's girlfriend if I beat him at a game of Pazak, but because I didn't have the credits to wager, I went and became the swoop bike champ for the cash, and finally I beat him at Pazak and freed Romana from her servitude. I think Starkiller would free her because of his affection for Wookiees, since Kashyyyk is his homeworld and Wookiees are often the subject of slavery, but I did it for the experience points. I recovered my gear from the TSF, got ambushed at the hangar bay by a bunch of guys using illegally modified assassin blasters, killed them all with Force Lightning, Force Grip, and Rapid Strike, and I got this droid to the Telos hippie guys. I report the blaster to Lieutenant Gren, and he asked me to figure out who supplied them. After talking to this sexy fellow ginger with exposed shoulders, I entrapped Samhan and got him to incriminate himself, reported it to Gren, and then ambushed him red-handed during his illicit dealings. He resisted my force powers well enough, but I've also since traded my vibroblades for stronger vibro swords, so Rapid Strike took him down easily enough. After sparing him and jailing him, it was time to clean house at the exchange. These guys grouped up here were easy enough that I was able to basically take them all out at once in normal combat. Slusk's bodyguard droids, on the other hand, nearly kill me though, and I didn't get a chance to heal before having to face Luxa, that hot ginger from before. She didn't like my unwillingness to murder Slusk, so she and her Gamorreans jumped me. This fight was actually fairly tough considering the circumstances, but after reloading and healing first, and then still dying a dozen times, I ran around to allow Slusk and his turrets to kill one Gamorrean and then help me finish off Lusk and the others. Slusk then turns on me, but his turrets went down easy to Force Lightning, and since he didn't have a melee weapon, I cut him down with about a quarter health remaining. To finish off the Telos Restoration Project questline here, I used a Zerka droid to hack into their network to get dirt on them so that the TSF would take them out, and while the TRP leader heals me as promised and even gives me a shuttle to allow me to get down to Telos, their base is immediately invaded and I have to go back and rescue them. The volume of enemies in this one place made me have to attack and then run around the corner to regenerate, but no one enemy was strong enough to pose much of a threat, and it was pretty easy to attack a bunch of them at once with my new Force Lightning power from my last level up. Still, after a decently tough battle, the boss mercenaries that were holding the leader hostage were absolute jokes. The TRP rewarded me pretty well the first time around, but they literally gave me nothing for doing this, which was legitimately harder than anything they actually had me do before. That's bullshit, but at least I got a ton of XP. If you'd like to reward me for all the hard work I do making these YouTube videos, consider subscribing to my Patreon, link in the description down below. I'm working on uploading every video on both of my channels so that you guys can watch them ad-free, but if you want to subscribe just to support me, or you'd like to be included in a shoutout at the end of every video, be sure to check it out. Well, we make it to Telos as planned, but not as planned, we're shot down. Thankfully, Darth Maul's second cousin saves us, but unfortunately, now he's on the team, and he's here to stay for this whole level. The following combat encounters leading up to the base are pretty easy, as long as I have a chance to catch my breath in between fights, and I even got a level up that allowed me to get Force Choke finally, though admittedly the guys right outside the research facility really tested the upper limits of my power, even with Bao Dur helping me. Still, Force Lightning helped to deal lots of damage to big groups of enemies, and Force Choke helped me to take stronger enemies out of commission for a while and deal damage to them as well. The inside of the research base was back to being refreshingly easy since it was all just droids and turrets, which are all easy to destroy with Force Lightning. Also, I helped this Twi'lek escape the base because why not? A level up netted me improved 2-weapon fighting, just to improve my overall chances of hitting with my dual vibro swords, and I grabbed the Force Push evolution, Force Whirlwind, which is kinda like Force Push meets Force Grip. I took out the rest of all the droids, and then had to fight a big tank droid that could resist my force powers and nearly one-shot me with his flamethrower, but that doesn't protect him from getting stabbed in the faceplate. Some HK-50s blow up our next ship as well, and then jump Kreia, Atton, and I, and this fight was actually pretty tough because they did some pretty significant damage, and Kreia and Atton both sucked, but the winning strategy was spamming Force Lightning, using Kreia as a meat shield, using her level up to fully heal her when she was near death, and then closing the distance and finishing off the HK-50s while using a bit of menuing health packs to keep myself standing. With the HK-50s dealt with, we found a secret Jedi Academy in the snow nearby and found that hot white-haired chick from before with her 5 other nearly identical girlfriends. I'm starting to think that this is a cult. Sure enough, I finally meet their cult leader, Atris, one of the Jedi Masters that exiled me for participating in the Mandalorian Wars. She seems to hate me, which probably means she secretly loves me. She does. This section is mostly just lore and conversation, but I did challenge the handmaidens to a sparring match, and I actually defeated them all at once without throwing a single strike. See, the way that this game works is that a character needs to be an exact distance away from a target of a melee attack in order to initiate the animation. Too far and they move closer to attack. Too close and they make room by backing away. Since these matches are by sumo rules, where anyone pushed off the mat is out, I just used melee shields and pushed everyone off the mat. Nice. I went ahead and freed all my allies, and then as we were leaving, we got to watch a video of the council giving me the boot and then being all vague and mysterious after I left. I get a list of each of the master's current locations so that I can go and find them to get some answers. And then that hot white-haired chick comes out of nowhere and reveals that she's stowed away on my ship and wants to join my team, and I said yes because she's hot. Our first destination is the moon of Nar Shaddaa, Nar Shaddaa. A bunch of people talk to each other about stuff, but I don't really care about that and just want to reunite with Juno Eclipse, so I just skip all of that. After beating up a couple of unpleasant thugs on my way into this fine Moon City station thing, I give some money to some homeless guys, and Kreia tries to convince me that an act of charity ultimately causes more evil in the universe. Sure, yeah, that makes total sense when you consider the fact that the compassionate and charitable Republic, for all of its faults, basically reigned in a several thousand-year era of relative peace, as opposed to the not charitable Empire that caused atrocities and unspeakable cruelties despite only lasting a little over 2 decades. decades. From there, I broke up a drug deal, collected all the side quests from the refugee sector, like getting Otis a pilot job and healing this sick dude, and then I used Mind Trick to make the nearby Sereko thugs leave the refugees alone. The exchange wasn't so easy, I actually had to fight them, but they weren't actually that difficult to fight, save for the boss. I just lured all his Gamorrean thugs away and dealt with them in a group using melee shields, took crack shots at Sequesh's bodyguards with Force Lightning from around the corner, and then, since Sequesh saved against my Force Grip and Force Lightning, I just used hit-and-run tactics on him until he was down. I cleared out the rest of the exchange thugs and let the refugees know that neither criminal group would be any trouble anymore, but then the Red Eclipse slavers tried to take over the Ebon Hawk, so I had to fight my way back to the ship, which wasn't too hard since most of the encounters leading up to it were in groups of 2 or 3 at a time, and then once I boarded my ship, I had to fight the ones there like the Sith soldiers from earlier. This was admittedly harder, but only because I was being impatient and not waiting for my health to regen. Their boss Ka-Mokt was definitely tougher than his average Trandoshan thug, but pumping him with enough electricity to power a city block definitely helped to even the odds. After talking to my compatriots a bit more and doing some companion stuff, we get this cutscene of Nihilus sending Visas Marr to kill us. I leave and reboard the Ebon Hawk, and oh look, she magically teleported on board, and I have to fight her now. I tried force gripping her throat, but she saved and started wailing on me. I was able to trade with her for a while, but when she got close to killing me, I ran around the corner, and as my entire party then started firing on her, I remembered, oh yeah, she's literally in the middle of my home base, and then she lost. I spared her life because the canon light side ending to The Force Unleashed 2 is Starkiller sparing Vader, and if he can spare Vader, he'd probably spare anyone he can. From there I moved on to the Flop House and started doing all the side quests there. Some different hot ginger chick is stalking me and almost gets killed by a Wookiee. Don't know what's going on over there, but that's none of my business. Anyway, I killed this rogue cleaning droid for a Bith scientist, helped Lasavu get off of Nar Shaddaa, leveled up and got Charisma to 15, which is actually lore accurate and smart for Starkiller, since Charisma in KOTOR helps to offset the downsides of using force powers that are of the opposite alignment to you, and Starkiller is a Jedi that uses Sith force powers, and I got the Force Choke upgrade. Thought I got that before on Telos, but whatever. After that I did that ship ID priority mission for Fossa, and finally that was enough to kickstart the main quest for this planet. I'm summoned to a bar called the Jackar, but get kidnapped by that hot redhead before I can make it. Oh no! While I'm spending some quality time with my new crazy redhead GF, Hatton gets to hang out with some hot Twi'lek twins, but oh no, they want to kill him. Better just stand behind this counter where they can't path to and shoot them for half an hour. After my ginger GF roofies me, she goes to the Jackar in my place, so now I have to go and rescue her by killing every living creature in said bar, including the bartender who literally looks like the devil. The amount of enemies was tough to deal with, but Force Lightning really helped to deal with groups, and none of the enemies individually took much effort to beat, so it was just a matter of pacing myself through each room of the bar and taking a beat to heal. After finishing off the final room of bad guys, I ended up in a maze filled with mines, but in situations like this, I usually either stick to the right and work my way through, or just always go left. This time I decided to go left because I read from left to right, and lo and behold, I was out of the maze in like 30 seconds. Upon arriving at the secret underground bad guy base, the game swapped me over to my redhead GF, Mira, and I've got to fight the Wookiee that wanted to kill her, Hanhar. The fight seemed like it was supposed to be tough, but after running Hanhar through all the mines set around the room, since Mira has a special ability where she doesn't set off mines, it was super easy to just finish him off. The Cath Hounds that were sicked on me after were much harder, but not because they were difficult. It was only because of just how easy the Hanhar fight was. They all went down easily too. Alternatively, the following Ubi's bounty hunters would have cooked me, so I went left again and was able to just leave the area. Smash cut to Starkiller arriving, and when I tell you that I mulched through these bounty hunter guys like a lawnmower tearing through grass, that's not even an exaggeration. I completely cleared the base, earning a level up to level 13 where I got Master 2 weapon fighting to make dual wielding actually better than not dual wielding now, and the final form of Force Choke, Force Kill. Then I confronted Cthulhu here, but his guards turned on him and captured me for Goto, the big bad boss guy. Kreia adopts Hanhar and tells him to kill Mira, and I play a section where I have to play as T3M4 and Google the answer to a puzzle and destroy some HK-50s again. Now I've got to pick 2 companions to invade Goto's yacht and rescue Starkiller, so I picked my 2 Force sensitives, Kreia and Visas. This section was easily one of the harder ones of the run because both of these characters have auto-leveled builds that were pure garbaggio, but after very slowly taking out all the droids between my characters and Starkiller, we finally freed him and things then became the other extreme. So ridiculously easy that I opted to just face tank all the mines guarding the control room because I was confident that nothing else would pose much of a threat. After hitting all the buttons on the primary console, we were attacked by bounty hunters or something, but they were all just Duros, so they died really easily. I also had to fight the Hot Twi'lek twins again, but even being named enemies, they went down in seconds. I did score a level up to 14 though, where I got the last level of Force Deflect, so that's good. That completes Nar Shaddaa, and Goto actually joins our team as a fat little robot ball, and I just think that's neat. We also get what we actually came here for. We find a member of the Jedi Council, he tells me some stuff, I don't know, I wasn't listening, and then he teaches me the Ataru lightsaber form. I've got a couple of different lightsaber forms now that each give me different combat bonuses when used in certain situations, but give an equal penalty in other situations. Starkiller is probably trained in all lightsaber forms to some degree, but it seems like he specializes in Soresu and Jurio, since those are the only two forms explicitly listed in his campaign stat block, so those will be the only two forms that I use for this entire run. After finishing up the last of my side quests on Nar Shaddaa, I build my first lightsaber, repair HK-47, and then head off to Dantooine in hopes of being able to get a second lightsaber to round out my collection. Now, instead of a Jedi enclave, the Academy has been reduced to a ruin after getting bombed by Malachor in KOTOR I, and now everyone hates the Jedi because they made them the target of the Sith, even though the Jedi helped and protected the planet for hundreds of years, and the Sith blew them up, and probably would have eventually blown them up anyway. I immediately went to the Crystal Cave for more lightsaber crystals, and at first, I died while fighting the waves of Kinrath. When I loaded back from my most recent autosave, I noticed that I somehow lost my armor and my lightsaber. I panicked and looked up what could have happened, and found out that reloading from an autosave in this game sometimes just deletes stuff from you. Earlier I noticed losing force powers, and I lost a powerful Zabrak Vibroblade, but I gaslit myself into thinking that maybe I just misremembered. I'm not a huge fan of this, but this is an Obsidian game that was made in a year. This ain't my first rodeo. I reloaded to get my stuff back, actually level up to 15, where I got the lightsaber weapon focus feat and the force wave power, which will be Starkiller's force repulse, and then I fought my way back to the cave where I eventually took on the Kinrath Broodmother, defeated her and her hatchlings, and got a number of lightsaber crystals in addition to my own special crystal that grants me a ton of special boosts and benefits. I also went ahead and cleared out the rest of the entire cave while I was there, and then I went to the ruined enclave. I had to fight a bunch of these bug monster things called Ligrex, but the normal variants went down easily to 2 advanced lightsaber throws before they could close the distance, and then a single finishing rapid strike. The deadly Ligrex were obviously a little tougher, but as long as I didn't let the buggers jump me, we were golden. Anytime I got ganged up on, I just used Force Repulse or Force Lightning to attack the group all at once, and even potentially stun them in the case of Force Repulse. I actually ended up getting a level from fighting all the Ligrex, and finally rounded off my charisma and started taking stat-amplifying force powers like Force Aura to represent Starkiller's Force Barrier Shield thing, his Force Dashes, and his Tuta Minis. Eventually I found this nerd guy who kept repeating the same dialogue over and over, and also some corpses near him that say that Master Vrook, that asshole council member from KOTOR I, apparently got caught by some mercs in Kinrath Cave, so I begrudgingly go to save him. Oh no, a ton of bad guys. What will I do? Yeah, I basically cut them all to pieces by boomeranging my lightsaber between their necks. Uh-oh, another big group of enemies. Yeah, I just atomized them all with my Force Repulse. This big dumb idiot gets mad at me because I once again foil his plan of not doing anything and letting everyone die while he meditates or something, and I get jumped by 20 mercenaries outside the cave. This seems like an intimidating situation until I recreate that one Force Unleashed trailer and kill all of them in 2 or 3 moves. We go back to Kuta to fight off the exchange attackers, and the local militia gets killed, but definitely goes down swinging. When they breach the building, they unfortunately have to face me, and I obliterate them all by spamming Force Repulse. I level up to 17, get Lightsaber Specialization, grab Burst of Speed for Starkiller's Force Dashes, and that's pretty much all there is to Dantooine, much shorter than Nar Shaddaa. When I get back to the Ebon Hawk, I make the rounds talking to my companions, and Kreia actually helps me to get a Prestige class. I picked Jedi Weapon Master since that seems like the natural evolution of Guardian and the best fit for Starkiller, and with my level up, I got the first level of Superior 2 weapon fighting to strengthen my dual-wield style even further, and I finally unlocked the most powerful version of Force Lightning, Force Storm. This power is absolutely cracked, and that's all I'll say for now. Next, I try to go to Onderon, but get shot down by some loser and crash land on Duxon, a nearby moon where I once fought in the Mandalorian Wars. I hunt half of the local fauna to extinction, kill off some more Duros that I guess thought they stood a chance against a guy with a lightsaber, and then I meet up with some Mandalorians and we become besties. Their leader, who I figured out as soon as he spoke was Canderous, offered to take me to Onderon if I help out his camp. So I fight in their fight club until I can no longer continue for now because I need a champion to vouch for me. I activated a permacrete charge to blow away into a Mandalorian cache. That explosion lured in a bunch of animals that attacked me. I vaporized them with Force Storm. I destroy all the droids in the cache and loot it. I level up and get the next level of Superior 2 weapon fighting and Force Valor. I helped this loser gain honor by slicing a Zakheg to pieces while he stood nearby, killed off the creatures trapping this guy up on a ridge, and helped this guy kill off some losers sent by the loser that shot us down to make sure we were dead. We weren't, but they are now. The guy that I helped at the end there turned out to be a Fight Circle bigwig, so I continued my last couple of fights there and became the champion. With pretty much everything done here, Canderous starts setting up to take us to Onderon. Traya tells him she remembers him from the first game, and then we had to repel an army of Sith assassins that were ridiculously tanky. They weren't even particularly strong individually, they were just really stupidly hard to kill for some reason, even while spamming Force Repulse and Force Lightning that both cooked even endgame enemies after this. We finally arrived on Onderon afterwards, and I'm stuck with Canderous for the entire duration. Other than a couple of encounters with bounty hunters that I demolished with Force Lightning, the majority of this section is trying to prove the innocence of one of Canderous's friends here, who was framed for murder, and we've got to help him because he can get us into contact with the Jedi Master hiding here. This part is just a lot of talking, including to this guy who looks like this for some reason. Despite his unfortunate face, Nico was the biggest help to proving Dagan Gent's innocence, and after providing the local authorities with a record from a destroyed droid that cleared Gent's name, he gets freed and tells us he'll help us if we kill someone for him. I'm sure Starkiller was attentively listening to the situation to figure out how to proceed, but I myself didn't really care all that much and just made all the bad guys ride the lightning. We meet up with Master Kavar, get ambushed by Onderon bad guys, Kavar and main bad guy run away, and I annihilate all the newbies left behind to, quote, deal with me. I had to leave because the planet was about to erupt in a light side dark side civil war and everyone was trying to kill me before I escaped, but more enemies just means more people through which to conduct Force Lightning. Before we leave, I turn the Handmaiden into a Jedi because I was able to progress her influence enough by occasionally beating her ass enough times. Also, apparently Traya used to be Darth Traya until she got her ass kicked by Sion and Nihilus because she absolutely sucks. Also, I somehow talked Mira into becoming a Jedi. Genuinely have no idea how that one happened. That's all. Next I was off to Corriban, and this section's pretty short. Corriban is now a ruin of what it was in KOTOR I, like Dantooine. I just killed a bunch of invisible monsters in the tomb area, made it to the academy proper, fought a bunch of invisible people, took some tests that I googled the answers for, fought some hungry Tukata, and oh look, the only remaining female Jedi Council member is dead. What was Obsidian trying to say? Well, now I've got to fight Darth Nylon, and he was kind of honestly light work. He stunned me and killed me instantly on my first attempt, but on my first try where I actually got to play the game, I just spammed Force Lightning and ran away until Traya told me to flee because Sion is literally immortal. With the academy complete, I went into the Chirac cave and killed all the innocent creatures there until I found a cool, spooky little cave thing inside. I fought a hallucination of Malak, Bastila, and a couple of other Jedi and completely destroyed them. This tomb was a little tough because force points don't regenerate until you've progressed to a certain point, but that's okay because my dual-wield lightsabers were exceptionally powerful as well. Next, I had a PTSD-fueled flashback of the Mandalorian Wars, but after dealing with my episode like a real man by face-tanking a bunch of mines and ripping my hallucination enemies apart with my bare teeth, I have to defend Traya from an army of the rest of my companions, which is probably the scariest illusion so far. I take advantage of the fact that Beodur never healed after we crash-landed on Telos and Force Lightning him, but for some reason using Force Lightning just resets the encounter, so I instead just killed him with a single lightsaber strike, and that was enough to proceed to the final room where I fought Darth Revan. This Revan definitely isn't the Revan from my Starkiller run because I completely trounced him. Now the Mandalorians want us back on Duxon, so we fly back and they want us to split up to fight a war on two fronts, meaning I would need to pick 3 companions to go on a mission without me. I picked the ultimate team of Gaslight, Gatekeep, and Girl Boss, my 3 Force-sensitive teammates that I don't hate. Even with their really trash auto-level builds, 3 Jedi together was a pretty overwhelming force that the Sith we fought didn't stand much of a chance against. I can't wait to play this again on my personal time without doing any kind of challenge run. I'm excited to play the game normally and experience everything it has to offer, except the words coming out of Krea's stupid face. I got some good loot from googling the answers to the questions these computers asked me, got tons more XP from brutalizing all the Sith in this area, and then finally I had to face the boss fight of this area against some high-level Sith lords. My first attempt went pretty well, I almost beat them, but that must have been an inordinately lucky attempt because all of the following attempts sucked shit. Finally, I just attacked them from afar while running around this sick pool they have in the middle of this room, and we won. In the meantime, me and my pal Krea had to help the Onderonians fight their civil war. We had to fight our way up the sky ramp, but I either force lightning spam everyone to death, or just let my homie kill them all in a cutscene somehow. Based. We stormed the palace, electrocuted everything along the way until I heard popping, and then started going room to room where I pretty much decimated General Vaklu's forces rooms at a time. I saved Master Kavar, killed the evil army higher up guy, saved the captain that freed Dagon, and then I had to fight this giant force monster. He resisted my force powers, sure, but just like the Gorog before him, he certainly still fell to my blades. There's this big clash in the throne room between the Civil War forces, and I actually got a chance to use battle meditation to bolster my forces in the fight, which oddly made me feel more like Bastila than Starkiller. Still, he was a major leader of the Rebel Alliance, so I'm sure he had a similar effect on people. My Force Lightning and Kavar going sicko mode made short work of the remaining forces, and after General Vaklu got his ass handed to him by Queen Talia, he just kinda stood there and let me cook him with Force Lightning. I convinced her to spare him, Kavar and I have a chat about the good old days, and with that, I've gathered all the important council members who all just happen to exclusively be the male members. Upon returning to Dantooine, we see that the Masters have rebuilt the Enclave, and their first order of business is to immediately betray me and murder my ability to connect to the Force. Krea kills the only people in the game quite as stupid as she is, now making her the undisputed dumbest character in this game, and now she's taken the handmaiden to Telos to kill Atris because they both love me and I can apparently only have one white-haired GF in my life, and the Sith are headed there to kill everyone, so now we have to go to Telos to beat everyone up. Visas and I share a passionate moment of looking at each other or something, I don't know, and then I save the handmaiden from Atris. Also earlier I got the Force Enlightenment power, which is awesome because now I can just use this and it activates Force Aura, Burst of Speed, and Force Valor all at once. Nice. The fight against Atris is a joke since I just spam Force Grip and then Atris retreats to her room of Sith holocrons because plot twist, she's not an uppity lawful good type. She secretly fell to the dark side and took up the mantle of Darth Traya after Krea got rock bottomed by Sion. Round 2 is as equally short and easy. I swear to God that I'm playing on difficult. Starkiller is just really strong, we know this from the KOTOR run. I spare Atris, the Handmaiden tells me her real name, Brianna, so now we can go from Starkiller and the Handmaiden to Galen, Merrick, and Brianna, and now we have to fight our way through the Telos station from the beginning of the game. Now further powered by my Force Enlightenment, I was basically so strong at this point that even repeated battles against groups of enemies were trivialized, so as you can imagine, making my way to Darth Nihilus' ship wasn't really all that difficult despite the literal name of the current difficulty setting. I had to take Canderous and Visas with me on Nihilus' ship, but even without them I was killing entire rooms of Sith soldiers and Dark Jedi without barely taking any damage if at all thanks to Force Repulse. It has massive range, it deals good damage, it knocks all enemies back, and it stuns them for what looks like 2 rounds. It's insanely good, especially here in close quarters group fights. We found that bad guy that chased Kavar earlier, and I tried to spare him, but it didn't work so we returned his ass to the Force in a couple of seconds. Visas returned to her old room, napped on the floor for a bit, and then we all jumped to Darth Hangry. Bro tries to force drain a wound in the Force and nearly shits himself, which, as you can imagine, gave us a massive advantage here. Visas and Canderous got cooked, but he didn't really do that much to me. For as hyped as this fight was, I was kind of expecting him to do more than lose a battle of attrition by spamming Force Drain in a sad, desperate, and visibly failing attempt to just keep his head above water here, but I guess a Starkiller is just too strong for a Planet Eater. We blew up the ship, saved Telos, I got to talk to my homie from the first game, and real Bastila shows up and even talks this time, and then finally we're off to the final planet for the last level, Malachor V. We return to where it all began, and after lightsaber throwing and force gripping all the storm beasts in my way before they could close the distance and turn me into Swiss cheese, eventually I make it to the Mama Storm Beast. She's tough as hell and drops me like a sack of bricks if she gets her claws on me, but luckily, I also do nutty damage, and once I slap on a melee shield, use Enlightenment, and lightsaber throw her before she gets too close, I'm able to beat her damage out with my lightsabers in a close battle, leaving me with 14 HP. Finally, I'd made it to Traya's Academy of Cringe, where I'd face Sion and Traya in a final epic duel. Mira has to finally face Hanhar in a last confrontation, and at first he won, but I didn't like that, so I loaded back and this time he lost. Got him! Then I had to do the remote section to turn on the mass shadow generator again, and of course I just flew past all the storm beasts I didn't clear out prior, allowing me to finish the section quickly and fairly easily, save for a couple of scares. The fight through the Academy was probably the most challenging dungeon thus far, of course, but much like earlier fights where I was more underpowered, this just requires the patience to sit and regenerate health after each fight. The battles themselves were not at all hard most of the time. Most rooms I just dunked on everyone with Force Repulse and Force Lightning. Unfortunately, I activated the Darth Sion fight by accident before getting a chance to heal, but would you be surprised to find out that I actually beat him my first try? Yeah. All I had to do was menu my health items. Sure, he hit hard and effectively had nearly 1500 health due to coming back to life 3 times, but he couldn't outdamage the nearly 70 advanced med packs I had saved up or the nearly 50 life packs I had. That's the thing about being really powerful. It gives you a chance to stock up on health items. He always saves against my Force Grip, but he didn't stand a chance against Rapid Strike spam while I was Enlightened boosted. Traya was a different story. Ironically, for the only character in this game that was literally written by her writers to be wrong about what she says and to be a complete failure, she was literally the only hard fight in this entire game. In a battle of force power, she saved on my Force Grip, plagued me, stasised me, choked me, and annihilated me without me even having a chance to fight back. Force Repulse and Lightning didn't work either, so I let my Starkiller lightsaber fighting do the work. I'd just equipped some Achani dueling shields I'd saved up, which negate up to 130 points of energy damage, pretty much neutering her lightsabers, and then I got close to force her to use her lightsabers and spammed Rapid Strike. Compared to fighting her using the Force, this was a joke. Then I have to fight Phase 2 with her triple floating lightsabers, but then I just did the opposite. I ran a couple of feet away, shocked them with Force Lightning, and proceeded to rinse and repeat until I ran out of Force points, at which point I pretty much just finished them off. Unfortunately, this is where you can really tell that they had to rush the ending of this game, because Kreia just tells me what happens to my companions from here, she just kinda drops dead, and then we all just leave. We fly away, and then it's roll credits. Regardless of that anticlimactic ending, we did it! We beat Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 as Starkiller. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed this video, check out my KOTOR I run as Starkiller, the first run in this series. Remember, if you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Peace.